I want to welcome everyone to our Library Technology Integration Lab Summer Showcase. My name is Alfredo, and I am the lab manager here at the LTI lab. And I'm excited to have the ability to kind of host and share what we are doing here at the lab and what the interns are doing. So this semester, we were working on the idea of framing kind of what this short term would be. And we looked at kind of the three topics that we're going to be kind of hitting on here is curiosity, discovery, and fun. So you come to people come to the lab because they're curious about emerging technology. Maybe they have some knowledge, maybe they don't, but they come in with that curiosity, and that curiosity leads to kind of working with technology and discovering kind of new things with that tech. And then ultimately, you're kind of driven by wanting to enjoy what you're doing. So you want to have the fun in it. So hopefully today you'll kind of glean from all of these presentations, like all of these three things. And I'm excited that these interns are here to showcase that. So, you hand some people who are super curious some high tech technology and then a little bit of structure to experiment, and this is what you're going to get. So I'm excited to kind of introduce them to you. Myself and Dr. Chow, who is our director at the iSchool, and also the brainchild and spearheaded this project when he came on. We'll speak in a little bit to talk about kind of the mission and our focus and kind of a little bit more about our lab before we present, but I wanted to highlight the team. So you'll hear from our interns. Celine, we'll hear from Tara, we'll hear from Galen on what they worked on and kind of where that curiosity, that discovery, and that fun kind of yielded their products. And then our team that makes up our LTI lab is Teresa and George. Teresa oversees our LTI interns, and then George oversees our VR interns on projects. So now I would like to kick it off and give it to Dr. Chow to kind of give our lab mission, talk about our beginnings, and do his welcome. So, Dr. Chow.
Thank you, Alfredo. Special thanks to Alfredo for his energy and his vision. Looking at the students, congratulations on the journey I'm sure you've taken by joining us. I think about Alfredo starting off, 4 years ago, and what we've created together is very exciting. So really the idea of the lab is to serve as a nexus for learning emerging technologies. So as you can see there, it really aligns to the mission of the iSchool as the director of the iSchool. And so we are dedicated to, I think Alfredo once said, experiencing the pain so you don't have to, as we innovate and learn new technology, and then turn around and try to share it with others. And you can see in the mission here, iSchool is dedicated to leveraging innovative technology in libraries to foster creativity, leadership, and engagement. The next slide. So I'm delighted to say that the LTI Lab has become a destination space for a lot of people on campus. So we've had everyone from the president to the provost to all of our deans. In fact, I don't know if we've done our dean yet, our new dean yet, Alfredo, right? So we need to do that as well. And many international delegations and relationships with Korea, Switzerland, South America, and soon to be Kenya, Africa. So the bottom line is the desire to understand how emerging technologies can impact our work, our daily lives, and information acquisition, organization, and access is something that we're all interested in. So again, congratulations to all of you here. I'll be quiet now so that the audience can listen in on the technology, the cool stuff that we've done. So thanks, Alfredo.
Hey, all right. Hello, I'm George. I am a first year MLIS student here at the iSchool, so I'm privileged to be part of the program. And then I have the opportunity to serve as the VR projects coordinator here in the lab. So to talk just about the lab experience a little bit, highlighting terms of the curiosity, discovery, and fun. It's an opportunity for students to come and not only be curious as Alfredo mentioned, they're bringing their own curiosity about this emerging technology and what can be done with it, but that discovery comes when they're given the opportunity to actually interact with it, to interact with the technology itself, learn about it, of course, but then interrogate the ideas about how can this technology actually be useful and empowering for communities that librarians and library professionals would serve. And so the opportunity to interrogate the technology, but also themselves, their colleagues, the literature, staff, while actually developing projects within these technologies is the real, in my opinion, it's kind of hidden gem of the lab experience. Because as an intellectual, as a curiosity experience, is a place where you can kind of map the idea of what I would want to do with this technology and then wrestling with actually doing it, right? So they always say the best way to learn something is to teach it to someone. And anyone who's ever been on a committee in a volunteer organization, had to go out and get some information, bring it back and share it with a group, has really had this experience. And when we think about the kinds of things that the technology can do, it starts with getting experience with it, wrestling with it, trying things, having that safe space where you can have a vision and try and apply it, and then discover what works, what doesn't, of course. And in that, so far, at least in my experience here, we've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's been a really great experience for myself to watch the interns come up with these great projects and again do these things where they're learning how to apply the technology to actually make things happen in the world, because ultimately that's what we're supposed to be doing, in my opinion. And it's such a great opportunity. I'm really grateful to be a part of the lab and to be able to work with Dr. Chow, Alfredo, and of course Teresa, and then all the interns that have come in. So really happy to be here and be a part of it. Thanks, Alfredo.
Well, thanks, George. Teresa, that's all yours.
Hi, I'm Teresa. I'm the LTI lab intern coordinator this summer, and I'm just gonna go over what we did, the projects we started off on. Our goal this summer was to give um, the everyone a chance to get some hands-on experience working with various technology, and then through our discussions, see where they went deeper and extended from the initial project. So first off, we had everyone learn how to create their own custom ChatGPT. Their first iteration was just for fun. They walk through the tutorial, and each of them created a particular persona that then could take on and be its own chatbot. Next, we had them create mini Spectre holograms where we have everyone was sent a plastic prism and given a design template, and they could either create a still or a moving video hologram. Next, then everyone got a chance to try VR headsets and really immerse themselves in a VR and AR space. Everyone had different reactions to this, and it was fun to discuss the like awe and the challenges of just engaging in VR. Next, we then had an opportunity to apply direct experience of creating a 3D world for the Reading Nation Waterfall Toolkit. This challenged us to take existing information and reimagine it in a 3D space. And then finally, each of them got to program a Tello drone using the Scratch block coding program. Uh, these projects were the LTI Lab's way of giving people something to try, discover how they worked, and then have the opportunity to extend deeper. So, in subsequent presentations, everyone's going to talk about one of these projects that then they extended and developed further. So, first up, we will hear from Tara, who's went deeper into exploring the GPT chat assistants, and she'll go over her thought process of making it. And as you listen, think about what sparked the curiosity and what unexpected things they uncovered along the way. So take it away, Tara.
Hi, how is everybody? I created actually two different GPTs. The first one that I'm going to talk about was one that we created in the very beginning, and I named it Caroline. It was an adventure bot talking about or doing more like finding outdoor adventure type information, kind of a guide to get you to where you can find places where you can RV, camp, that are pet friendly, that have different amenities that you may like. And then, things like fishing, kayaking, which are all things that I love. So that's why I originally created this one. Can you go to the next slide, Alfredo? And when I did that, I wanted to sure that it could find places to explore different, like I said, amenities, and kind of plan out a route for that journey. And it does do both domestic and international. So if you're interested in going to Paris, France, you can find maybe some RV adventures there as well. Can you go to the next one? And then what I did for that is I tried to do like a playful idea so that you could kind of see some of the things that it does. I did a bunch of pictures just kind of showing some of the amenities. Up in the corner is a little picture that I created off of a real picture of me and my dog, who we love to kayak. They jumped on, or she jumps on the kayak with me when I go. So that was just a fun thing. But I asked the chat to basically find a playful, adventure-packed, tailored adventure that explored both North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. That allows RVs, that's pet-friendly, that has laundry facilities, and offer kayaking and fishing. Can you go to the next slide? Which is a lot. I know it sounds like a lot, but what it came up with was this itinerary that you kind of travel through North Carolina, South Carolina, and then Tennessee, giving you different places that you can stay at, different campgrounds that were available. It talks about like the full hookup, the laundry, that they're all pet friendly, because I made sure that was like one of the major things. And of course, a lot of them, as you see, if you read through this, it'll give you like the river access for kayaking and where you and stuff like that. Can you go to the next one, Alfredo? And then what it all breaks down a little bit is oh goodness gracious, sorry. It breaks down like the actual itinerary itself. So like suggests and timelines. So 2 days, 3 nights starting in the North Carolina amount, goes through I won't read it to you, I'm sure you all can read, so but it kind of gives you the exact itinerary that you can follow so that you're going to the places that you enjoy. Also, it'll give you like the pricing for those campgrounds as well, so you'll kind of know exactly what you'll be spending to get there, to have your fun, and to stay there and be able to park for the night. Can you go to the next one? And then it also kind of gives you like a little breakdown. It tells you that I gave you all the parks that were pet friendly and laundry for these RV hookups, kayak friendly. So it kind of tells you these are the things that's what I gave you. Are you good with that kind of? That was just a fun one that I did in the beginning that may not necessarily apply to LIS for the everyday purposes, but it was fun to do. And since I love outdoor adventure, that was like the best part of it. Can you go to the next slide, Alfredo? I also did a chatbot that was for cataloging. So I started with creating the chatbot, and then I looked at what we did in my library that I work at. And I took all of the our software, the Bibliovation, and I kind of fed its information about Bibliovation, and then different things that we use for cataloging. Mark 21, Dublin Core, all of that. I added all that information in there. And then Dewey Decimal, like everything that I could think of that related to cataloging it to the information that the cataloging assistant would. The next one. And then once I created all of it and got all that information in there, I was able to get it to do item identification and categorization and labeling. So it'll do like different tools where it'll tell you what needs the label, and then it'll tell you how to print it out from specifically, in my case, Bibliovation. So I started with that because that's what we use. And then, how-tos on different things in Bibliovation as well. Can you go to the next one, Alfredo? So I asked it to basically catalog this book, which is the Rose Ice Cream Bliss by Rose Levy Berenbaum, which now hungry and they want ice cream, but the cataloging, it broke it out, all the different types of cataloging or metadata that you can think of. So Mark, Dublin Core kind of gives you all the information on what you need to catalog them in those specific classifications. Can you go to the next one? And then once I did that, the next thing I did was have it give me like the spine labels. So our spine labels are for fiction, are pretty much fiction style. And then of course we use Dewey for the nonfiction. And as you see, the breakdown for us would be the 621, 872 for the Rosies. And it gave me the exact cataloging. I kind of showed you our spine and then what it gave me so that you would be able to see that it is working and it is doing what it needs to do. If you go to the next one, and then after that, what the chatbot will do was it'll actually give you the information on how to print it out. Bibliovation. Now, I can't connect it to Bibliovation because Bibliovation is I work on a military installation. So to anything on our devices is it just can't be done. Well, I mean, I'm sure it can be done, but not by me. So what I had to do was give me the information on how to print it out in Bibliovation, and it gives you the exact how to do that, right down to what label you need to use in order to print it. It'll give you like the Avery 560 or 5160. So you'll have to get those sheets to print out our labels, which is what we use. So, but anyway, that's kind of just a secondary, like I said, with the Bibliovation and how to use it with the cataloging assistant. Can you go to the next one, Alfredo? And then finally, thank you, everybody. It was a great time exploring all of the different technologies that we use, from the VR to the frames to the drones. And definitely, as you see, I had fun with the GPTs, kind of integrating that into what I do every day. So I really appreciate the hard work that you guys had us do and all the hard work you guys did to make it happen. So thank you, Dr. Chow, Alfredo, George, and Teresa for a very interesting summer.
Yes, that's why Galen's project is actually quite special because not only did he create a custom chat GPT, he applied it in his work context. So as we will see, their project tackled some tough challenges and maybe discovered some more through the process. But what's powerful is how they approached problem solving, not just as a task, but also as a chance to grow. So let's hear the story.
Hello, my name is Galen Marigliano. and I am a summer intern here at the LTI lab at San Jose State University. And before I dive into and showcase a couple of these GPTs that I've been working on, I just wanted to echo what several others have said as to the incredible nature of this lab. From an intern perspective, having exposure to all of the tech that the lab offers, all of the applications, I not only have gotten amazing exposure and skills in all of these things that the lab offers, but have been working on and seen how this applies to audience for public and private libraries and programming to increase accessibility, and it's been a great experience. I wanted to dive into two specific cases of custom GPT creation that I have been using for, one, my place of employment at an independent school, and two, my volunteer position as a digital archivist at a local library. This has pretty direct application, and I know there's a lot of ethics involved in AI, and especially how it relates to library science and archiving. We're not going to get into that, but I'm going to go into how I've been using this. So in this custom GPT creation, I was thinking about this small team of volunteer archivists that we have at our library that are doing an immense amount of work, taking the entire collection of newspaper clippings and personal collections from the late 1880s all the way to present and putting them in a digital archive within a short time span. Not to go too much into the project, but we have all of our records uploaded onto our website. I'm going to use this as an example. I downloaded this local history collection piece about Huey Newton, his arrest in Santa Cruz County. So what I've done with this GPT is I've given it a few prompts. I've trained it in Dublin Core, which is what we use for inputting data in our digital archive. I have made a couple norms as for our personal archiving protocol, and I just fed it a whole bunch of material here. It knows a fair amount of vocabulary, it knows our process, it knows generally what we're trying to do. And this is spit out from a previous run, but I essentially uploaded the document. It analyzes all of the photos and text on that document, and what it spits out is the metadata. So right here, highlighted, title, subject, description, creator, source, publisher, date, format, language, type, and coverage, all related to how we would archive a newspaper clipping. Now, the application and the practicality of this, from personal experience, coming on as a new volunteer archivist with no previous archival experience, not a whole lot of knowledge in Dublin Core, this allows me to get an idea of our format, but also it allows me to check out this piece on our website and say, okay, we have creator, source, date, type, coverage, identifier. Does it match what we have here? And are we missing anything? So I see right off the bat that we're missing a description, which is incredibly important because it helps historians and researchers and individuals find this. Knowing that ChatGPT makes mistakes sometimes, we are not going to take this as word, as gospel, but it could also help me to kind of formulate proper descriptions and get an idea of the format of how I should be entering all of this. So this is something I've personally been using to check previously uploaded documents, and it's been incredibly helpful. My second piece that I've been working on has been more related to my place of employment. I work in an independent school, and we collectively as a faculty have decided to abolish our last 2 weeks of classes in favor of 2 weeks of intensives. So students essentially get to elect to take 2 weeks of one class in quotes, that they're really passionate or excited about. In the past, we've had international cooking, we've had backpacking trips, we've had bike trips, we've had making a guitar from scratch. They're pretty expansive. And for teachers and faculty that come from a curriculum background, that teach the curriculum, are all about test taking, this can be pretty daunting to plan and execute something like this when you're teaching from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day, or you're going on a trip that requires overnights. So this is something that I created to help faculty build out this course. And I gave this GPT some background as far as what we would do. I gave it some sample courses that have been run in the past. I gave it budgetary restrictions, and also gave it calendar dates, logistics, our place in the world, so it doesn't suggest something in, like say Europe as a potential option here. And it's designed to cater to individuals that either have a fully fleshed out idea or just have a sliver of an idea or topic that they want to teach, and it can guide you through the whole process. Similarly to other GPTs, I've uploaded some knowledge so that it has information on what we've done in the past and formatting, and you can essentially go through and say, I need a budget breakdown, or I need you to help me design this from scratch, and it will walk you through that entire process, and most importantly, spit this out in a uniform way that has it's consistent with everybody else's proposals. So it makes it easier for accepting or denying propositions. Now I'm not going to run through this whole entire process. I think this is a little more close to my work and maybe not applicable to everyone, but I will say that this is something that can be built out and formatted for many different tasks in many different places of employment, many different libraries, many different pieces of programming. And I see this as a crucial skill that personally I will continue to work on and bolster, as it's made my life more efficient, easy. It's made uniformity in the workplace, so everybody's more on the same page. And I think this is a great skill that just helps the accessibility of content. So I appreciate you all for watching and listening. I'm happy to dive more into details and nuances of any of these GPTs and demo, but for now I'll pass it back.
And now we'll hear from Selena. We're very lucky to have Selena this summer. She was close enough to actually come in person to the lab a couple of times, and she assisted with some of our demos. Now, a little bit about Selena. She came in this summer with a lot of courage, going from what was just simple curiosity, and then it grew into something creative and forward-looking. And one thing we've learned at the lab throughout this whole process is that the technology is never just about the tool. It's also about the human experience that shapes and surrounds it. And here is how Selena explored that space.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity just to talk about just some of the great things that that I've experienced at the lab. And I want to thank you, Dr. Chow, Alfredo, George, Tara, Teresa, even Galen, all of you all for just being a dynamic team. This has just been an awesome experience for me. So just to dive in a little bit, I just want to talk a little about some of the experiences that I had. So I was able to kind of engage with animation. And the reason why I'm bringing up this, I wanted to talk about this, is because I've never experienced anything like this before. So this is my first time. When I walked into the lab, I'd never put on a headset. I had never engaged in any kind of like virtual reality. So I came in like really new at this. And initially I was at first I said, I'm not gonna go in. I don't know if this is for me, But the moment I came in, I quickly realized how safe the space actually is. So I was able to learn about animation. As you can see, my two new friends are there. We were able to chat a little bit and have this interactive engagement in augmented reality. I created holograms, and the hologram that I actually created was about Mars, and it was just really a wonderful experience. And I learned about spatial computing and also interactive storytelling, which is really what I'm going to focus on with the Meta headsets. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So when I first came in and I started to engage with all of the just really the information that was coming at me, I quickly learned that the LTI lab has this model. And this model was important to me in moving forward and creating my project. So the LTI lab model provided foundational guidance to support my growth and learning in emerging technology and virtual reality. The model's unifying ideas made it reproducible and easy to follow. So equitable access, that was something that when I started to create this project, which I had in my other class, I was thinking about equitable access because that's what the LTI lab was really focusing on. I thought about, okay, I'm in a safe and supportive learning environment. That's another component that the lab gave. Supporting next tech leaders. When I came in and I started working with the students from the different universities, again, I came in not knowing anything, but what I learned, even as a novice, the students were coming, they were asking me questions about, oh, can you teach me how to do this? And, I was able to engage with them I wasn't intimidated at all. It was really just a wonderful experience for me. And the lab did that for me, partnership at every level. So I know like a lot of times in organizations, we partner at different levels, but I want to tell you, the lab partnered with me. The lab met me where I needed in terms of not having any experience, right? So the lab partnered with me, and I appreciate that. And also IT and digital literacy. That's something that my project that I'm going to talk about focused on. And so these are the 5 components that really were foundational, I think, to helping me kind of build out this this project. So if you could turn to the next slide. So the project overview. So what I had to create for another class was, I called it Images Virtual Ecosystems Pilot Project. And it's a new approach to learning in urban middle schools through virtual reality. So it focuses on designing and supporting education pathways through emerging technology. Virtual reality, I believe virtual reality could help identify learning gaps. Excuse me. It could create solutions that address the limitations of the current educational structures. The use of emerging technology is intended to amplify the strengths of the educators. And the last 2 points is really what I wanted to focus on also. Accessing emerging technology may be cost prohibitive and pose as a barrier. Project design lends to multiple variations and would provide educators and students multiple ways of learning. I wanted to focus on those 2 because I really learned this in the lab. So I literally created my own lab here at home. And that was something that the lab taught me. I was able to, I don't have like a super big budget or anything like that, but I was able to take the headsets, I was able to take the drones. I was able to have my own immersive experience here at home. And that's something I believe that can be reproducible and to other areas. You have schools that may not have a large budget, but what you can do is you can scale it down to what they need. And that's what I did here in my own kind of environment. And that's what I learned at the lab. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. And so some of the information, so the actual space that I created, a lot of the information I got from the Library of Congress. And so for the last week actually was my last week. I actually, I was an intern lead for the letters of delegates to Congress from 1774 to 1789. And I was actually a metadata lab lead intern. So I helped to kind of work with this project to pull out the metadata on 300 and something, delegates from the First and Second Continental Congress. So I had this idea like, okay, so how can I use some of this information to kind of combine it with what I learned at the lab, help students. So, and I remember I wanted to bring up this point because it was really important. So in my actual internship, we have these professional learning sessions, right? And so I had the privilege actually to sit in it. There's probably like maybe 15 or 20 of us, and Dr. Carla Hayden, who was at the time the actual Librarian of Congress, was actually in that session. I thought it was going to be like a webinar where we were just learning, but it was actually where we engaged with some of the leaders. And so one of the questions that I asked, I was able to ask the very last question. And the question I asked the leaders, there was 3 of them. There was the chief of staff, the deputy principal director, and also Dr. Carla Hayden. I said, what type of legacy do you want to leave? And she just so graciously said that she wanted to open up the treasures of the Library of Congress to the world. When she said that, it really resonated with me. And so I remembered that as I was moving forward in working with this project. So some of the materials, I'm not going to go through all the bullet points here, but some of the materials inspired me to design this virtual space where students can engage with these documents. And there's so much hidden treasures in our libraries, and as information professionals, it's our job to connect people with this information. And most of the documents and images that you're going to see in the next slides, they're actually from the Library of Congress, but they're also from historical societies and some educational sites. So, and also just a real point, this last point, the West Coast, sometimes I'm speaking for myself, sometimes it's not easy for me to get to the Library of Congress and access some of the materials there. So I believe that a space, that we have a virtual space can have people come in and engage. So if you can go to the next slide. So exploring the American Revolution. So what I did was I created a space in Frame VR where I have Johnston Wickham. And I put on here that he's the ancestor of John Wick. So as you can see here, these are just little kind of AI generated sketchings on a little about the foundation of this space. So Johnston Wickham, he's a part of the American Revolution. He's with leaders, as you can see them at the top slide in the background. They give him this leather box, and in this box, he opens it up, and what he finds is headsets. He calls them mechanical spectacles. So as he's opening up the headsets, he puts them on and he's quickly immersed and he goes into this metaverse. And, he goes into this metaverse, he's learning. And as you can see, the very last picture there, he's in a forest, right? So unfortunately for Johnston, he didn't read all of the instructions. So in the back of the parchment in the leather box was the instructions on how to get back from the metaverse. So here's Johnston. He's now stuck in the metaverse. If you could go to the next slide. So now Johnston is stuck in this space and he's in there. It's been 200 and something years. So now Johnston has this space and he's actually remembering his time being in the American Revolution, engaging with several people. So he starts to collect artifacts and he starts to, as a memory. So he starts to create these boards. And so Johnston, so far, he has like five boards. And on the boards, he has everyone from John Hancock and some of the writings of John Hancock. He also has Thomas Jefferson, some of the writings of Thomas Jefferson. So these are the spaces where we can engage with students, show them about emerging technology, show them a virtual world. They could even create their own spaces. So just to wrap it up real quickly, this is what I learned, and this is what I was able to do being a part of the lab and as a lab intern. I would have never been able to do this had I not engaged with the hardware, engaged with actual Frame VR, learned, and even picked Alfredo, Trissa, George's ideas, the Reading Nations waterfall project. I was able to go in there and explore the space so that I can use that and so they could help me build out what I wanted to see. So again, I wanted to thank everyone for really just creating this really an opportunity and this environment for people such as myself to come in and learn. And I'm very grateful. I come in, I'm very, very grateful to the space. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And this is the last slide is my big thank you. So
Thank you, Selena. I've learned I can't advance slides and listen to your guys' presentations. I get lost in all of them. So I'm like, oh, I've got to turn the slide. She's done talking. So I appreciate all of you for all the work that you've done, and you see that, like, from starting from the level you guys started at, just the interest in this, and then kind of getting to where we're in this virtual space that you created, or these GPTs that are super useful and accessible and efficient. It's awesome. So I'm glad that you were able to take from this, and it wasn't a summer where you were just kind of like just trudging through. So I appreciate all the work everyone has done. And I again will put this slide up. Thank you all. And I'll pass it off to Dr. Chow, and then we'll open it up to some questions, and then we're off to next term. All right, Dr. Chow.
Well, again, I just want to thank all of you for sharing your excitement. It's validating. Our work is all very exhausting and tiring, and the budgets and purchasing, and been on many trips with you. I think probably the most positive memory I think I've had in terms of just the ridiculousness of it all was Alfredo and I transporting Rosie to her next event in the rain, and you and I lugging her off the U-Haul, but
Didn't look suspicious at all.
not at all, not at all.
A
But
big
then,
face.
but then, as I think as all of you have said, bring it to the community. Obviously, the first time the library staff had ever seen this, I think this was Mountain View, and then having the students and the public for Mountain View be so excited really just personifies why we do what we do. So again, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It really reinvigorates me, and I know Alfredo as well, as we continue our hard work together. So, Alfredo, with that being said, we have I think, quite a few students signed up for the fall. The iSchool has grown by 33% in the past 4 years. And without a doubt, some of your work is part of that innovation and growth. And Alfredo, you'll be hearing that we have, because of our success, there's a saying that sometimes the most dangerous thing to do is be successful.
Yeah.
The university has given us some pretty ambitious growth goals for the future. And so I think all of those that are in the lab, you're going to see many more visitors and many more instances of interesting uses. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And yep, let's open up for questions.
Yeah, again, this has been a really interesting summer. And they always are. I'm always learning because, I don't know it all. And you guys bring a lot to the table too, aside from like the curiosity and wanting to discover new things, your skill set. But I wanted to kind of just throw some questions out and see kind of how how it really kind of resonated. So one of the things that I was kind of wondering is, what would you, let's say, Tara, this question will go for you. So how would you imagine this kind of tech being used in like libraries or LIS spaces? I know you focused on the GPT side of things, but
Mhm.
everything else that's crossed your path, what do you think?
I think all of it's basically fairly useful for libraries. The GPTs, I think, are the easy thing to integrate like today in a library. Even like the outdoor adventure, a lot of people come into libraries to do research and to find out information. Like the outdoor adventure GPT, that kind of would allow you to kind of research it in a larger scale, but on a smaller platform. So I think that things like that really can be integrated right away. The VR, I think, again, I was talking about, budgetary concerns, things like that. That's where
Right.
you're going to see probably the pushback on some of that, is where how can we integrate? We don't have the money to do that. So, VR technology, I think you can integrate it with, like Selena was talking about, having things like the Library of Congress available at your local library through VR. But again, that takes money. So, I think the challenge is just getting that money, that funding to be able to do some of those things. But all I think are great. The drones, I mean, I can see drones doing like, for people that are maybe not able to get into the library physically of whatever disability or limitation they might have, having drones go out and drop off orders to them or pick up their orders or whatever it might be. I drones kind of being integrated in some ways like that that are super helpful for the community at large. So I think all can be good.
I think you mentioned like having it not cost much or have a really like a nice entryway into it. So if you're working with like say creating your own GPT to make something efficient or work a little smoother, I think that's a nice, high yield, less not that much of an investment in it, more about creating it. So
exactly.
I have a quick response to Tara. So Tara, I think you're absolutely right. And what I've been talking to library systems about is that really the question is, can they afford not to invest in emerging technologies? And the good news is that as print circulation continues to decrease and digital access continues to increase, really the cost should be shifted over to emerging technologies. And then the other I would say is having worked with a lot of politicians, they like to kiss babies and also promote technology. So one of the ways I think to shift the paradigm on how the public and some leaders look at libraries, I think technology is going to be a win-win scenario. So
I totally agree, Dr. Chow. I think that that's where the money has to be, kind of diverted to. It's just getting the library director, staff, boards, whoever it is for that particular library on board with that. So,
And you guys are our baked-in advocates. Rest assured, when you look for your positions, your library systems and your library directors are going to be looking to you. They always tell me that the new hires are always looking for the latest and greatest.
So on top of emerging tech, we should also have a track on finding emerging money and then making it easier for people to kind of get access to, right?
Well, Alfredo, with that being said, that there's a lot of people say that they go to libraries to check out books before they buy them. I really do think our role team is for library directors to come visit us before they invest, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And also, I mean, even I was telling the students too, it's like, we create our own accounts when we're doing these meta glasses and such. And it's like, hey, if you ever decide this works for you, you want to buy your own, you've played with it and now you've workshopped it, and then you can take it and make it your own. So, I was looking at you, Selena, because you're right in my field of view here on the screen, but I wanted to know, like, as you were playing with kind of all of this technology, was there a moment that like you had like a aha click, or was it like that you were like, okay, this hasn't stuck yet, and yeah, I'll leave drones alone, or like.
No, I think it was when I actually entered into the virtual space. Like when I stepped into the virtual space, and I know a lot of times that there's that novelty, like, oh my gosh, look at all this, look what we can, but as I continued to use it, it really started to sink in that this is, and I know sometimes people kind of like, oh, well, I'm not sure about it, but I think it's here to stay. I really do. I think it's here to stay. And I'm a visual person. So like when I interact with the world, it's really visual first. So for me, when I went in, I literally, my mind started to download all the 25 different ideas that I can use with this, not just in terms of engagement, with the community. My background is in academic libraries, so that's where pretty much my my focus has been. And I see myself working with students, researching to develop more ideas, create new content, create new information, new knowledge, right? And I see this as being part of that. So yes, it's very exciting for me. So I do feel like this is kind of like just my just initial step, and then that maybe kind of move forward with it. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I I'm curious because I'm in the LIS field. I'm in it in this academic sense here, but with both you and Tara, what would you say kind of like for people who might be or LIS professionals to like actually kind of dip their foot into this into working with technology? Like if you have that kind of barrier where, you don't want to even like I'm not even going to go into this because I don't know how to turn it on or because
Mhm.
that's always kind of the thing too with everyone coming into the lab. We want to kind of
Yeah.
take that out of it, and then be like, yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for us too sometimes, and I know how to turn it on, right? So like what would these some kind of things you would put out there so they could start exploring this kind of tech? Tara, we'll go with you first because your mic is
I think just jumping in. I mean, honestly, like I did the lab. I thought it would be interesting to learn about some of the technologies, and probably more important to learn about them than it is interesting, because everything is growing and developing. I think you just have to just decide that it's important enough to just jump in and just start engaging in the different things that are available. You know, VR is a little difficult for me at first, but Erica and Teresa and stuff, they were giving me some pointers on take your time with it, do just short segments, and that worked to help me kind of battle with getting a headache from having it
right.
on too long. So I think just jumping in and just trying it is, if you don't try it, you're never going to know. And I don't think it should be age specific or technology specific. It should be just everybody needs to be learning it because it is there, and whether you like it or not,
Yeah,
it's a part of our lives and a part of what we are doing and growing with. So it's important to know it.
thanks. Selena.
That's a really interesting question, Alfredo, and I think there's several levels to that. I think one of the things we need to focus on, though, I really do believe this, is really on the leadership level. Because
Mm,
a lot of times in organizations, things, well, not a lot of times, most of the times, things can't be done without the leaders, right? So I think really, showing the leaders, painting the picture, really getting them, and I say this because so a few years ago, I actually worked on a strategic plan, and on that strategic plan, I learned a lot of different things about like how things flow. And in that, I realized like, wait, especially when it comes to technology, you know, if you're able to show and paint the picture to the leaders why this is important, I think what happens is they start to influence and impact the organization. And I think a lot of times that's really where we need to start, because we can buy in. Like I can buy on an organizational level, but if my leader doesn't see the vision, doesn't see how it can be applicable to my work, it's not gonna go anywhere. So I think that if we kind of focus on those things, and really talk to our leaders, show the leaders, connect with the leaders, partner, those types of things. I think you're really going to see emerging technology move faster, I think, than what it is. So that's just my thoughts.
mm. So we have a director's lunch road show that we're going to do, right? So we could take this and have one-on-ones with all the library directors, get the headsets on them. Thank you, Selena, Tara. Thank you. We've hit 10 o'clock. We could keep going, but we'll continue on in next streams. But please don't be strangers. You could visit our information on our website. We have a lot of resources that we're putting there. We're just of service at this lab, so it's fun to see kind of what our interns are doing, how we're progressing, and stay tuned. I'll give the final goodbyes to Dr. Chow, and then we'll see you guys on the next one. Dr. Chow.
Thank you again. A great job this summer. We appreciate all of your work. I know that Teresa and George really enjoyed working with you as well. My last thought is, I think actually, Alfredo, we should talk about renewing our outreach to library systems. So this began in year one, where I had almost 200 people attend a presentation at ALA about emerging technology. And after that meeting, we developed, kind of a national council of library leaders working in emerging tech with the focus of having a network in which we can kind of work together. And I think, Selena, your point, and Tara, your point really does help me kind of go full circle to say, Alfredo, one of the things we must do is be really bringing leaders into our lab virtually or in person so they can understand the future. Because I think we all agree emerging tech is important. And in some ways, we need to be advocates for emerging tech for the decision makers that hold the purse string. So let's kind of file that away as let's not forget that primary mission of the lab. So with that being said, I don't want to give anybody any more work. Great job.
And if the directors are watching, feel free to contact us.
That's right. That's right.
Reach out to your life.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
Selena and Tara's consulting firm.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. George, Teresa, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Yeah, and a wonderful, wonderful summer term. We're leading into fall. See you guys. And you're always forever in the lab. Talk to you guys soon.
Take
Bye.
care. See ya. Bye-bye.